All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we recap some of the news that happened here on Saturday. And of course, we're also brought to you by TickPick and more from TickPick in just a minute. But of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. All right, we've got some news in Ninerland on a Saturday. According to Diana Rossini, the 49ers expect Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall to be ready to go for Week 8 against the Houston Texans. Now, I think this is good news and bad news. It's good news from the standpoint of Ricky Pearsall's getting back out there, and it's good to see that he's getting back out there. I think it's bad news on the Purdy front. Why? Because, the Niners should have put Brock Purdy on the IR. They should have given him the full 4 weeks, and allowed him to heal. But he didn't want to be put on the IR. And because he didn't want to be put on the IR, he has to then be ready to play within 4 weeks. Otherwise, they should have put him on the IR. So now they're going to force him back onto the field against a really good Texans team on a really tough artificial surface. And he's going to re-injure the toe. And he's just going to be out for a longer period of time. So, and this once again creates this whole disjointed feel to this season where you went with Purdy, and then you're going with Mac, and then you went back to Purdy, and now you're going back to Mac. Now you're going to go back to Purdy, and then you're going to go back to Mac. So, I mean, this I wish the 49ers would take a little bit more of a long-term view of this thing and say, let's shut this guy down for an extended period of time and then give it one more shot in a month to see if he can play the season. And if he can, great. But if he can't, then IR him, call him done for the year and have some continuity. But the only reason he's going to play next week is because, he's decided he wasn't going to be on the IR and he's not looking good. By the way, I'm at practice every day. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. He doesn't look good at practice. Now, we don't get a chance to see a full, the full practice. But from what I've seen, he doesn't look good. He's not running well. He's not throwing it well. He's not driving the ball down the field. He still has accuracy, but it's not getting out there impressively at all. He doesn't have that escapability. That's a big part of his value proposition is his ability to escape. So they're screwing this up. I don't like this move at all. This is what you have to do when you don't put him on IR. When you don't put him on IR, he knows if he doesn't play next week, then he made a mistake by telling them not to put him on IR. But he didn't want to be put on IR because he wanted to try to get back. But it's the kind of injury that needs more time to heal. And what are the odds? I mean, how many games do you think Brock Purdy's going to be able to play? And is he going to play at full Brock Purdy level or not? And I would say not. So we'll see what happens this week against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a very tough game for the 49ers to win. But then they're going to go back. I said it last week. I said it throughout the week. They're going to go back to Brock Purdy next week against the Texans, even though the toe's not better, even though he's not healed, even though that turf is going to make it worse, even though he's like very, very, very likely to exacerbate that injury. They're going to go with him. They're letting him make the call. He essentially is the head coach and the GM. He's making the call. He didn't want to go on IR because he's competitive and he wants to play, but he needs more than 3 weeks to get ready. 3 weeks of rest. He needs like 6-7 weeks of rest. The initial prognosis was he needed like 5 or 6 weeks to rest, and he didn't take it. So then he played one game, got re-injured, and it was time for Mac. Now he's going to come back. He's going to play one more game. He's going to be re-injured, and they're going to shut him down. And hopefully at that point they'll shut him down for a good chunk of time. But if you keep putting it in Brock Purdy's hands, he's going to keep saying, "Don't IR me." Even though that's exactly what they should have done. That's exactly what they needed to do. But he doesn't. He's too competitive. He wants to play. So he's going to play next week against Houston. He's probably going to lose that game, probably going to have a recurrence of that injury. And he's probably not going to play well. And then it's going to be, especially if the 49ers win this week, I mean, if the 49ers beat the Falcons on Sunday Night Football, but with Mac Jones, and then go back to Brock Purdy next week against the Houston Texans, and he plays a mediocre game and they lose to the Texans, I mean, you got a full-blown quarterback controversy on your hands at that point. Then you get the fans yelling, we want Mac. Mac's better. Was Mac better? No, I don't think Mac's better, but Mac's healthier. And so the Niners are going to put him out there. They're going to tell you he's healthy. And when he doesn't play well, they're going to tell you he wasn't healthy. So I just kind of wish they would take a little bit more of a macro view of this thing and say, hey, look, this is the kind of injury that it's going to be recurring, and it's going to, and shut him down for an extended period of time, and then give it one go to see if he can play the rest of the season. And if he can, great. But if he can't, then you're moving on to Mac Jones and Adrian Martinez and anybody else you want to go to at that point. So don't love the handling of the injury. They're allowing Brian. I mean, even when you ask Shanahan about it, he's like, well, when Brock wants to go, he'll be ready. When he wants to go, he'll go. Okay. Well, he wants to go. He's super competitive, but he also needs to heal. And he's not giving himself that time. He's going to put himself out in an AstroTurf situation against a really athletic defense. He's probably not going to play all that well because it hasn't looked good in practice. I hope he gets the win, but I don't think he will. And then what? Then it's all these people jumping up and down going, Mac's better than Brock, when in reality we're getting an unhealthy version of Brock Purdy. So don't like the plan at all. Love it for Ricky Pearsall back in week 8. Don't like it for Purdy back in week 8, but I knew it was coming. As soon as he said that he wasn't going on IR, you knew he was going to try to put himself back on the field within 4 weeks, probably within 3, because otherwise you would have IR'd him and you would have gotten a roster spot. But he didn't want that, and the 49ers gave in, and now they're going to put him back out there. And if they put him back out there after a win against the Falcons, man, you're going to have people, and he doesn't play well against the Texans, you're going to have lots of people sitting there going, Mac's better. And I don't think Mac's better. I just think Mac's healthier. But that's the situation the Niners are got, they've got going for themselves in the next couple of weeks, if that's the way this thing shakes down. Diana Rossini also reporting today that the 49ers are reportedly showing the most interest in trading for Trey Hendrickson. However, Cincinnati is not shopping him. So, yeah, I mean, sure, the 49ers they need help badly on their defensive line. They need help with their pass rush. They've tried in the past to trade for pass rushers, and they've gotten guys who don't have any work ethic, don't have any ethic to how they play. They acquired Chase Young. He dogged it. He didn't just dog it. He dogged it in the NFC Championship game. So you can't trade for guys who you don't know if they're going to play hard. But that's the beauty of Trey Hendrickson. That's why the Niners are so all in on Trey Hendrickson, because his motor is the best. He's going to play with his hair on fire. He's going to play super hard. So you're not going to trade for Trey Hendrickson and get a guy who's like, I don't really want to play. You're going to get a guy who absolutely, lives to play and plays really, really, really hard. So that's their situation. I mean, they're going to wind up getting, if they could get Trey Hendrickson, and who knows, I don't think they're going to change their minds. I don't think the Bengals are going to change their minds. They just traded for Joe Flacco. They just beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. My guess is they were not going to wind up trading Trey Hendrickson. So it's like much ado about nothing. But, and then the 49ers situation, they need help. They need help anywhere they can find it. But Trey Hendrickson is a great addition if you can make it, because his motor runs so hot. And so you don't have to worry about, you know what? We traded for Chase Young and he dogged it in the NFC Championship game. Nice. They don't have to worry about that. If they trade for Trey Hendrickson, he will not dog it. He will be a guy who plays at a crazy breakneck speed. He's got an unbelievable motor. So that's what makes him so attractive, I think. And because he isn't signed long-term, the price tag on him should be somewhat reasonable. Maybe the Niners could get him for a second-round pick. But according to Diana Rossini, the Niners are reportedly showing the most interest in trading for Trey Hendrickson, and that Cincinnati's not shopping him. So they're going to have to move on to plan B. Now, what is plan B? I would go Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald from the Jets. I don't even know if they're available, but those are the guys I try to get. They both have a 13% win rate as pass rushers. They're both really, really talented. I think Jermaine Johnson's better against the run. I think Will McDonald is a kind of a younger, healthier, fresher version of Bryce Huff. So I would love that duo. And to me, 2 over 1 would be great because you need depth. Your backup offensive lineman may never play. Your backup defensive lineman always play. So it's always nice to have more and not less. So if the Niners could go from Trey Hendrickson to Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald IV and pivot that way, I'd be all about it. But they're reportedly showing the most interest in trading for Trey Hendrickson. I got to think as well that the price tag's got to be a second-round pick and maybe another pick as well. I don't think the 49ers want to trade that first-round pick because I think they would like to preserve that first-round pick so they can get a replacement tackle for Trent Williams. Speaking of Trent Williams was fined today, $11,593 for his unnecessary roughness penalty related to the play in Tampa where he pulled the young DB down to the ground by his face mask and just, Trent having an anger management moment there. I mean, the game was over. I'm sure probably the Tampa Bay defender said something, pissed off Trent. He was blocking him one-on-one, and then he just brought him to the ground by his helmet and 2 hands on the face mask, very violent. So Trent Williams fined today $11,593 for that hit on the young former Georgia defender. I can't remember his name, but there you go. Trent Williams, a little lighter in the pocket for his effort. And Kyle Shanahan weighed in on Nick Martin. He said he was talking about Nick Martin. He said he was the one not dressing, and now this gets him up. He won't be starting yet. We still got D. Winters and Tatum Bethune doing a good job in the base, but this gets Nick his introduction into the league. He'll start out on special teams, and I hope we stay healthy for the rest of the year at linebacker, but he will be the next man up. So this week, it might not be about Nick Martin, but it's good that he's up. He's a really talented player. You got to find a way. Robert Sala's got to find a way to utilize this guy. Use him as a blitzer. Use him as a second-half blitzer. When Michael Penix is getting tired and it's late in the night and he's tired of running around, that's when, you get to the second half and on a long night of football, and you're trying to corral him. I think I'd put Nick Martin on the field and send him at the quarterback. He's electrically fast. We're talking about 225 pounds who runs in the 4.5s. He's a violent hitter. He's a physical hitter. Send him as a blitzer to Michael Penix. Try to rush Michael Penix in the second half with Nick Martin. If you want to force the ball out of Penix's hands on a couple downs, Nick Martin would be the perfect guy because he is, when he wants to take a full run at the quarterback, man, there's very few linebackers in football that are any faster. So he's the next man up. He'll play special teams. He'll be active this week. I'm really looking, to me, the 2 key guys to look for in this game outside of the normal ones. Obviously, Kittle getting activated is big, but Jordan Watkins, the rookie receiver who may field punts, he also may be a go pattern guy, could really stretch the field, create space for others. I think he could be a very dynamic player for the Niners. And then dynamic is also the word to describe Nick Martin. I think Martin's got the ability to, be a dynamic player as well, both from scrimmage and on special teams. So there you go. All right, let's get a mention here from our friends at TickPick. Little break from the content to tell you about our friends over at TickPick. You know what drives me nuts? Hidden fees. Just period, hidden fees. But hidden fees when you're buying tickets. You see one price listed, you click checkout, and boom, the price jumps up with all these fees. Well, that's exactly why I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's show, TickPick. With over 20 million downloads, TickPick has you covered. NFL covered, NBA covered, concerts done, festivals, you name it. TickPick gives you the lowest price guaranteed. No fees. No fees. Let's all say it together. No fees. What you see is what you pay. How about that? I've been using TickPick to check out some live events. Super easy experience. You just open the app, search for your game or concert. TickPick shows you the best deal based on seat rating and price. And the best part, every single ticket is backed by their buyer trust guarantee. So you can trust your seats are legit. You can use code HMA for $20 off your first set of tickets at TickPick with a purchase more than $100. That's $20 off any tickets with promo code HMA. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app. That way the code automatically adds to your account and you can use it later. Again, $20 off any tickets with promo code HMA. The link's in the description. Thank you to TickPick for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, thanks to TickPick for sponsoring today's video. We're just going to wrap up and just, talk a little bit about the matchup once again. The 49ers host the Falcons tomorrow night, Sunday Night Football, and it's the 83rd matchup for former division rivals. Niners lead the series 48-33, one tie. They're 29-12 at home, looking to go to 30-12 at home. 49ers are favored. The over-under is 47.5. Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, Melissa Stark will be on the call on NBC, and, of course, Guy Haberman sitting in for Greg Papa. We'll join Tim Ryan on the KMBR Radio Network, 49ers Radio Network, for the broadcast. It's interesting, one last thought on the trade front. Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano of ESPN believe the Niners consider Trey Hendrickson an ideal fit. So it's not surprising that Diana Rossini is saying that they're the team that's the hottest on the trail for Trey Hendrickson. And those guys, Fowler and Graziano, both reported that the Niners have been scanning the trade market for pass rushers. We're not sure if the Bengals are ultimately going to wind up trading Hendrickson or not. It looks like they're not going to at this point, but that's the message that they always want to send. We'll see how they play in the next couple of weeks. But it just said that the Niners are interested if the compensation's reasonable. So what's reasonable compensation? I'd probably say a second-round pick and a day 3 pick, or a second-round pick and a player, something like that, would make sense. To me, a first-round pick is probably not that reasonable. Right now, Cincinnati's saying they don't intend to trade Hendrickson, but if they do, supposedly the Niners, the Bears, or I should say not the Niners and Bears, the Eagles, the Niners, Kansas City. There's a couple teams out there that are interested in Trey Hendrickson. If Philadelphia, if you're saying why are the 49ers keep continuing to show interest in Trey Hendrickson, because there were some reports this week that Trey Hendrickson would wind up in Philadelphia. And if the Eagles get Trey Hendrickson, man, that's a real blow to the 49ers. But the other names thrown out this week are interesting as well. Rashawn Gary, Kingsley Enagbare, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Arden Key, Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, all just, edge rushers that are out there that people are suggesting might be fits for the Niners. Now, one last thought. Niners Nation had an article on Saturday where they quoted former Niner executive and former Titans GM Rand Carthon about Arden Key. And this is the quote from Carthon on CBS Sports earlier in the week. He says, the name that I want everyone to keep an eye on is Arden Key, who's an outside linebacker, edge player for the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, they just let go of their head coach. He's a guy that is on an expiring contract. He played for the 49ers in 2021. He resurrected his career. Didn't play for Robert Saleh, but did play for D'Amico Ryans and played under Chris Kasarik. And Carthon goes on to say, and so that's a name to keep an eye on there because he gives you an edge presence, but he also made his hay rushing inside, which will then allow them to continue to bring along Mikael Williams. So that's an interesting name. Arden Key has got a quad injury that caused him to be inactive last week, but if that quad injury checks out, I do think he's a low-cost he's a really good low-cost alternative if the Niners don't want to go with Trey Hendrickson. I think Tennessee, as a trade partner, might be a good trade partner for the 49ers. They've got some offensive linemen. They've got some rushers, Draymond Jones, Kevin Zeitler on the offensive line. If you want a running back, they got Tyjae Spears. It sounds like they have no interest in moving Simmons, which is not surprising. Why would anybody move Jeffrey Simmons? But if you could somehow get, Arden Key and Kevin Zeitler, Tyjae Spears. I think those are guys that all three of those guys could really help the 49ers significantly. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Once again, thanks to TickPick for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.